We tried so hard to get George Clooney, but we just couldn't do it. So we had to live with me. Why am I showing you this film? And why does it relate to, forget about the adults, it's the kids that matter? It's because every one of these artists, and I could go through them, and I'll try not to, but every one of these artists were immigrants. They're all very famous, very distinguished, very important British artists who weren't born here. And that's the key as far as we're concerned. That's what Ben-Uri is about. We are about disseminating the universality of migration, because the biggest social challenge of the 21st century, and when we set it up that way in 1999, 2000, when I got involved, because Ben-Uri had been closed for 5 years, it was because it didn't take Einstein to work out that the biggest social challenge of the 21st century, when Britain was inside the EU and we had free movement of labor, was social integration. No longer did people have to walk across continents. There was Ryanair, there was EasyJet, there was Wizz, all the sort of cheap airlines, there was train services. People can move continents at ease. So it really wasn't terribly difficult to work out that in this country, our biggest social challenge of the 21st century, within the domestic sphere, was social integration. And unless government actually understood that and planned decades in advance, then there was an inevitability of civil unrest. Now, I've only had a few days to prepare this in my head, because Adam actually only invited us a couple of days ago, although he invited us in 2015, but we were celebrating our centenary at that stage, so we were rather too busy. But the reason why is because we just announced the view that we should take the lessons of Ben-Uri, because we have over 3,000 different profiles on immigrant artists, immigrant art dealers, immigrant critics, immigrant art historians within the visual arts field, and actually teach that not to universities, which is where our main target market is, but actually in schools, because of the civil unrest that actually has happened over the last few weeks. And that's why I say that it's about the kids, forget the adults, because when you're actually talking to those people who are rioting across in the north of England particularly, the ship is gone, the ship has sailed, the horse is bolted. You're talking to people who are already committed to their view that England should be for the English, whoever the English are, because nobody's actually told them that 40% of those people living in London actually weren't born here. 16% of people living in the UK weren't born here. And these were in 2021. Remember, we've had another 1.5 million immigrants to this country since then, so the numbers are probably at 1 or 2% more. It's too late. What we need to do is to actually tell these stories of the achievements of immigrants to our country, the fact that we're actually all from somewhere else. We need to actually integrate that into our school curriculum. Today, in the UK, citizenship is part of the UK curriculum. So I called my 2 granddaughters who were at school, and I said, do you get taught about migration and the fact that the guy or the girl sitting next to you or across from you in the class may not actually have been born in London. They may have been born in another country. Do you ever get taught that? No. And they work in they go to multicultural schools, multi-ethnic schools, and they thankfully don't see any difference between color and language or anything else. But it's what we need to do, because apart from anything else, they're role models. After all, we've had a second-generation Indian prime minister in this country. The vast majority of the top footballers in this country, of which people spend fortunes going to see and dedicating their Saturday nights or their Sky subscriptions, whatever it is, to see, are not from this country. They are often with a different color skin. And yet, the next day, we can go and create civil unrest and riot and make ghastly noises and everything else. There's a total contradiction. And I suggest that one of the things that we need to do is to build long-term. So when I say forget the adults, it's not that we should forget the adults, but we should prioritize schools. We should prioritize integrating education into the citizenship about the immigrant contribution. The fact that actually, I'm a Scot, I'm a Glaswegian, but my grandfather was Russian. My grandmother was Austrian. We have to teach people that actually where we come from is a plus. It's interesting. We bring different qualities to life. And that's what we do. That's what we do within within Ben Uri. So we have a big research unit. We're tiny, by the way, we're an absolutely tiny little physical institution, but we do engage 1 million people digitally on our subject of the Jewish, because that's our cultural heritage, the refugee, and the wide immigrant contribution to British visual culture. So that's what we want to do. We want to bring that from the university side, in terms of the social, the humanities and the digital humanities, and integrate it into school curriculums so that children of your grandchildren or your children, yes, can actually learn that at school. Because if we all think about it, where were our values built? Where was our understanding of humanity built? First of all, at home, through our parents. Secondly, at school. And then there is a third. From our experience at school, we then bring it home and we discuss it with our parents. So if we can create within the school curriculum an understanding, a recognition of the tremendous contribution that immigrants, first generation, second generation, have made to our country as they are members of our country, then there is a chance, perhaps a better chance than now, that if somebody says to them, let's go and throw stones at a hotel of asylum speakers or try and burn it down, they might say, actually, hang on, let's not. I don't want to do that. That's not my values. That's not what I was brought up with. That's not what I understand the quality and value of migration to this country. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is really all I want to say. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. David Glass. Well, the first question is from the children.
Hello.
My daughter, Yakaya.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Yakaya Kisi-Mensah. Thank you for your lovely presentation. I'm a recent law graduate from the University of Manchester. And my question is pertaining to your actual title of your presentation. You said to forget, obviously not forget the adults, and educate the children. But as we continue to educate the younger generations, there's often a generational gap that is built between the younger generation and the older generation, which creates generational resentment. I'm sure if you know, in different media forms, through the radio or younger generation TikTok, there's this discrepancy between Generation Boomers and Generation Z, my generation, saying that the younger generation is lazy, where our view is the older generation is not understanding us. So how would you suggest we close the bridges and actually build these generational, close these bridges and, help connect different generational groups? Thank you.
It's such a good question, but I don't have an answer for you. I'm sorry, being a Glaswegian, I'm not prepared to waffle. I don't have an answer for you. I think it will always be there, but I'm minded that a certain young prime minister in the 1990s, when asked what his 3 priorities for government was, he said education, education, and education. And I think it's always all about education. If we actually understand each other culturally, in age groups, then we just have a better chance. Life is never going to be perfect, but we have a better chance of making life better for each other and kinder for each other.
David,
Sir.
Could I say ask one thing, of course. I saw a beautiful museum. Is that free to come?
It is totally free to
Excellent,
come.
excellent.
And
Because if everybody knows, they get more to come than the...
And our website is open 24/7. We have 4 websites. We engage 1 million people a year now, and it's totally free. And we have 3,300 something different profiles on people from the visual arts. We have diasporaartists.net, which actually focuses on the Black and Asian contribution to British culture. And we have Buru, which is the Ben-Uri Research Unit, which focuses on the European contribution. So it's, we have 70 exhibitions online. We are a digital institution. We're bigger than Tate digitally, not physically.
Thank you very much. And if I may,
Sure.
before the next question, just in contributing to what she said, I think that one of the ways to be able to bridge the gaps of misunderstanding is to open each generation first into what the generation before or after lives and the impetus of those things that create their mindset. Because each generation comes from a different eco-historical and social system, and that forms how they operate as a generation. I think these labels as Gen Z, Millennium, and others normally straitjacket their thinking, and they're not able to branch. And this is where cultural diplomacy allows you to live in the shoes of another person. Even though you may not agree, you understand what has formed their personality. And I think that will be able to bring a unifying perspective of humanity between the different generations beyond the labels.
Thank you, David. My name is Pardon. Esna, I beg your pardon. I always say that. Originally from Zimbabwe. I've been living here for 24 years. I'm a human rights lawyer. I want to commend and to thank Ben-Uri for what you are doing positively by highlighting the positive aspect that you can get from migration. Mine is not really a question, but to thank you so much by what you are doing. There's a saying in Africa which says a child is raised by a village, and your attitude towards raising awareness to the children is very, very important, because I believe racism is not something that the kids just see, but they learn at home. And when you begin to address that at that level, we are beginning to have answers for the future. And I'm looking forward to the future that where we are all going to be looking at each other, not identifying ourselves as where we come from, but as one complete, one nation. Thank you so much for your presentation.
Hi, my name's Ruby. I'm a teacher in London.
Hi, Ruby.
And thank you very much. That presentation was very interesting. I have two quick questions. Are your galleries open to schools?
Yes.
Because I can see, lots of teachers, particularly art teachers, creating art units around your gallery and the work there, and also to promote cultural understanding in Britain. And the other question is, are you open to Palestinian artists as well? Yes. Because there are a lot of Palestinian artists that don't have the means to display their work.
Okay, so I'll answer both. So first of all, the answer is yes, we are open to schools. We are a tiny institution, so we use return on investment, which is what I took from my business world. We implement it hugely and demandingly, rigorously. So we have to make every pound work very, very hard. So we are open to schools, but only on a Monday and a Tuesday, okay? And it has to be organized in advance. But yes, the answer is yes. So the answer in terms of Palestinian artists, yes. In fact, you will find I've brought a whole list of documentation of things that we produce. And we currently research over 100 different countries. And I can give you the list here, but it's Nigeria, Palestine, Pakistan, Peru. We are only interested in individuals in the visual arts who were born somewhere else and who have made Britain their home and made a significant contribution to British visual culture. If Palestinian, Peruvian, from your country, wherever it is, we're not interested in your ethnicity. We're only interested in whether you were born somewhere else, you've made this country your home, and you've made a significant contribution to British visual culture. So the answer is yes. But we tend not to be a contemporary art gallery, exhibiting art gallery. We shifted that because it was uneconomic, it was unsustainable long term. So we've shifted into the educational, the academic side of the digital. But the answer is there are no no-go areas.
And are you open to display children's artwork from schools? Do you have
No.
competitions and things like that? No.
No, we just don't have the resources to do it. So we have 4 exhibitions a year, 2 of them collections, so they're less expensive, less difficult to put up. 2 are mixed loan exhibitions, and even they are unviable, they're uneconomic. We do them because they're important, but we focus and drive rigorously our investment into the academic side and provide it digitally. So for example, we've got over 400 essays online. We've got 70 exhibitions online. We've got 1,000 artworks online, 400 artist biographies, 3,300. I mean, I could literally go on. But there's only a certain amount of money that we can raise, and we have to invest that where we're going to get the biggest return for public benefit.
Thank you.
We'd like to take one more short question if it's available, and also to let you know that the environment of the Institute of Cultural Diplomacy also provides what you call the post-conference engagement. So you have a sterling environment of different individuals that after the conversations you can always get with them to expand whatever your question is.
This is not a question, this is a vote of thanks. Marks and Spencer's is my favorite shopping mall, and I thank you for the concept of introducing the food halls. Thank you.
I once did a deal where I tried to negotiate a certain percentage of turnover for a business that I was selling. I really wanted to do that with Marks and Spencer's, but I wasn't senior enough at that point, so not something the business would do. But yes, it turned out to be, as it so happens, a good idea for the business. Any other questions?
I think at this particular time we can all give Mr. David Glazer.
Before you do that, can I just make two comments? One is that I brought a whole lot of literature. These are all on there. They are basically profiles of artists from all over the world that have made a contribution to British visual culture. There's also this magazine here, Art, Identity, Migration, which is what Benuri is about. So that's number one. Please take them. Number two is you're from a range of different countries. Go home, talk to your embassies, talk to your education departments, and try to get this concept integrated into the school curriculums. Because then in 20 years' time in our country, we may not have a week of civil unrest. We may only have a day.
Again, we'd like to thank Mr. David Glazer for coming in and for his contribution. I think another round of applause is fit. Thank you very much.